I never used to believe in the supernatural, or in monsters lurking around every corner. That all changed the night Scratchy started following me. I can barely bring myself to write this down, but maybe sharing my story will help me find some kind of closure. It started innocently enough, with a text from an unknown number. "You like The Simpsons, right?" I didn't think much of it at the time. "Who doesn't like The Simpsons?" I responded with a casual sure, assuming it was a wrong number or a friend playing a prank. No reply. That night, while walking home from work, I felt a presence behind me. You know, that tingling sensation, when you just know someone is watching you. I turned around and saw nothing but the usual city life, cars passing, people walking, lights flickering. I shrugged it off, as paranoia, and kept walking. As I approached my apartment, I caught a glimpse of something in the alleyway, just for a second. I tried to convince myself it was just a stray cat, but deep down, I knew something was off. The following days were a blur of anxiety. Every time I left my apartment, I saw him, a man in a Scratchy costume, staring at me from across the street, around corners, even from the rooftops. The costume was immaculate, almost as if it had been lifted straight from the cartoon. It had that sinister grin and those bulging eyes that followed me, wherever I went. I told myself it was just some obsessed fan trying to scare me, but as the sightings increased, my fear grew. One evening, I decided to confront him. I turned a corner, and there he was, standing perfectly still, staring at me. I approached cautiously, heart pounding. "What do you want from me?" I shouted. He didn't respond. He just tilted his head slightly, as if amused by my outburst. I grabbed a nearby rock and hurled it at him. He didn't flinch. The rock passed right through him, landing with a dull thud on the other side of the street. My blood ran cold. I ran back to my apartment, locking the door behind me. My phone buzzed. It was another text from the unknown number. "Why are you running away? Don't you like the show?" My hands trembled as I typed out a response. "Who are you? What do you want?" This time, I got an immediate reply. "I am your biggest fan. And now, I am part of your life." I didn't sleep that night. I watched the windows, expecting him to appear at any moment. The hours crawled by, and just as dawn broke, I saw him. Scratchy, standing across the street, staring up at my window. He raised a hand and waved, a slow, deliberate gesture. I closed the curtains and called the police. They came, took my statement, and did a sweep of the area. Of course, they found nothing. They told me it was probably just a prank, some kid in a costume. I wanted to believe them, but I knew better. Days turned into weeks. I became a recluse, too scared to leave my apartment. My work suffered, my social life disintegrated. Scratchy was always there, waiting, watching. The texts continued, growing more and more personal. He knew things about me, things I'd never shared with anyone. Then, last night, the texts stopped. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe it was over. Maybe he found someone else to torment. I dared to leave my apartment, to try and reclaim some semblance of a normal life. But as I stepped out into the hallway, I saw him. Scratchy, standing at the end of the corridor, grinning that same menacing grin. He started walking towards me, slow and deliberate. I backed away, fumbling for my keys, but my hands were shaking too much. I dropped them. He was almost upon me, when I threw myself into my apartment and slammed the door shut. I could hear him outside, scratching at the door, a low, guttural laugh echoing through the wood. I grabbed my phone and called the police again, but this time, the line was dead. The scratching continued, growing louder, more frantic. I don't know how long I can keep him out. I am trapped in here, alone and terrified. If you're reading this, please, help me. Scratchy is real, and he's coming for me. And if he gets me, I fear he'll come for you next.